Everyone, this is Dr. Vijay, Deputy Director, Center of Research for Development, Parul University, and Associate Professor, Parul Institute of Applied Science. Welcome you all in this forum of PU International webinar. Today we are facing the problem of COVID-19 pandemic, and now we understood that the health is the most valuable asset, which cannot be neglected, cannot be compromised, and cannot be taken for granted also. In last more than 50-60 months, we have come across with and recorded, and we have seen many deaths because of COVID-19 pandemic. And we come to understand that we cannot compromise our immunity, and we are focusing more and more to improve the level of our immunity. We often make a mistake during the current lifestyle. We are almost facing this stress and also the lifetime stress disorders also. We are ignoring our physical exercise, and because of that materialistic life and because of all this thrust for winning attitude and all this, we are compromising our health. So it is my proud pleasure and privilege that today we are having international esteemed speaker, Dr. Dina Elsori, who is expertise on that maintaining or taking the charge of your health. Just to introduce with her, she is Dr. Dina Elsori, madam. I welcome you on behalf of CR4D and Parul Institute of Applied Science, and also from Parul University on this PU International webinar.
Thank you.
Dr. Dina Elsori, madam, she did PhD in cell biology from Cleveland Clinic, USA. She is the Associate Dean of Student Affairs at Abu Dhabi University's College of Health Science. She achieved several significant milestones and credited for being a top performing professor with excellent team leadership capabilities, constantly instilling a plethora of knowledge in the students. Her accolades includes the achieving the Distinguished Faculty Teaching and Service Award several times throughout her career at Abu Dhabi University. Before joining Abu Dhabi University, Dr. Dina was postdoctoral fellow at the Cleveland Clinic, Ohio, United States. Her research focused on studying pathways that contributes to the progression of chronic inflammation and heart diseases. Currently, her research interest focuses on public health, and she has become an advocate for well-being and health promotion at UAE. Today's session will focus on what is the difference between the health and the wellness, what are the different dimensions of the wellness, what is its importance, how to improve the quality and the standard of life, building sustainable and enablers into our daily routine, and many more aspects. So without wasting more time, I request Dr. Dina madam to please start her session. In between, I request audience again, some background voices coming, please mute yourself. Once session is over, the 10-15 minutes dedicated interactive sessions can be given, where you can raise your hand or put your queries in chat box, and your queries will be answered. So thank you, madam.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Vijay. Good morning, everybody from sunny United Arab Emirates. It's 9 a.m. our time today, right now. So it's an hour and a half difference between us and India. Firstly, before I share my slides, I'd like to give my special thanks to Dr. Taryn, who approached me personally on LinkedIn to give a talk. We've been going back and forth about the topics, and finally we decided this is the right topic for what's happening at the moment. So thank you, Dr. Taryn, for this special invitation. Of course, Dr. Vijay for all his support throughout the preparing process for this presentation. Special thanks goes to, of course, the Center of Research for Development and Parul Institute of Applied Sciences at Parul University. I've never been to Parul University, but I've got a special place in my heart for India. I've actually been to India 3 times in the past 4 years. The first time I went to Integral University in Lucknow. I was an invited speaker. That was my first time ever in India. And it was the most beautiful experience in my life. And then I was invited again as a speaker at King George Medical University in Lucknow. Seems like I'm destined to go to Lucknow. Again, outstanding experience, outstanding hospitality and discussions. But my last trip was right before COVID, actually. It was more personal. I went to Vana Resort, meditation resort, to de-cleanse all the stress throughout work in Dehradun. And that was right before COVID. I still remember it was that January 2020, and I think couldn't have been a perfect timing for that. So yeah, I mean, I've been to India and I love it, and I love the fact that we're still collaborating. And right now, it's a new university, a new community. As Dr. Vijay said, I am my background and training. I'm a cell biologist. I've studied human monocytes and their role on oxidative stress and NADPH oxidase activation and the progression of atherosclerosis all my life. And that was my training in my PhD at the Cleveland Clinic. And I thought that's something I'll bring home to the UAE. I'm originally from Palestine, but born and raised in the GCC. So I thought that's something we need. But surprisingly, they weren't interested very much so in basic science. They do on the side, but they more focused on the public health. That was 11 years ago. So when I moved from Cleveland, Ohio to Abu Dhabi, and they said, we need a public health degree. We need to start talking about public health because people don't know what it is. And interestingly, I was given that task. I wanted to prove myself. I put together a 4-year degree that was back in 2010. And this is when my passion started. My love started for public health. I still love what I do, my cell biology, my basic science research, and I still collaborate with my team in Cleveland and across the world. But it's something I'm taking the lead on here in Abu Dhabi at Abu Dhabi University. It's the wellness and well-being. And I'm going to share with you some of the things that we've introduced at the university, what we do at the level of the community and with our students. And I think it's important to also highlight the importance of such terminology and issues and the different dimensions of wellness. So if you allow me, I'm going to go ahead and share my slides with you. I was told you can wait till the end for the questions. I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Feel free to add, even as I go along my talk, any questions on the chat that we can go through them. Can you see my slides? Dr. Vijay, is the slide clear?
Yes, madam. Yes, please.
Okay, excellent. So as I said, so my name is Dina Al-Souri. I'm currently an associate professor of biology and the associate dean of student affairs at the College of Health Sciences at Abu Dhabi University. And I've been with them for 11 years since I moved to the UAE. Today, we're going to talk about, again, wellness, something, when we talk about health and health awareness and wellness, I think there's no time better than this time that we're going through right now with the pandemic, with COVID-19. And I like to start my talk, and my title is Taking Charge of Your Health. When I give this talk, I give it to adults, whether they're students or faculty or teachers, or even now different companies are asking me to give such webinars to their staff. When I talk to an adult, it is their responsibility to take charge of their health. It's different with kids. We are supposed to take charge of their health. We're supposed to introduce these habits. As an adult, it's your responsibility to take charge of your health. So just to give you a little bit of idea about where we are in the UAE, which is probably different than India, but still, I think heart disease worldwide is still the #1 cause of death around the world, and it is still in the UAE itself. This is recent data. So per year, we're still losing around 1,200 people from heart disease. Unfortunately for us also in the UAE, I don't know how many of you have been here. We've got beautiful highways. Everybody has excellent cars. There's cameras everywhere, but we still have people dying from car accidents. So what we call unintentional injury, especially young people that's just started driving. And obviously that goes back to the behavior, the reckless driving, the lack of awareness. We're losing approximately 700, especially young people in car accidents, fatal accidents. Also cancer obviously is still a problem for us, respiratory disease, perinatal conditions, infections, of course, and obviously now with COVID, disease of digestive system, congenital malformation, diabetes still a big problem in the UAE. Urinary diseases, nervous system disease, and diseases of blood, and so on. What are the priorities, public health priorities here in the UAE? Obviously, cardiovascular disease prevention and management is #1. Well, right now it's, the pandemic and COVID-19, but in regular days, it's the cardiovascular disease. Road safety comes second for us. We do so much campaigns to educate young people. Tobacco control, we still have a problem with, smoking, especially Shisha and midwaf, there's the things that are more local here, but there's still forms of tobacco. Communicable disease prevention and control, that's a priority right now, of course, with the pandemic. Occupational environmental health, mother, infant, and school health, cancer control and prevention, chronic conditions, including asthma, and oral health. So these are just generally to give you an idea of where we are, what are the initiatives, and why Abu Dhabi University 10 years ago decided that we need to have a full-fledged degree in just public health. It's not part of environmental health, it's not part of nutrition, public health degree. And we've got so many students that have joined and graduated. So let me talk about what really, I'm here, why am I here this morning with you? It's really taking charge of your health. We don't say health anymore. The new health goal, that's why when I talk to my students, I don't ask them about whether you're healthy or not. We have to think about the term wellness, which is your optimal health and vitality. It's not enough, and I repeat, it's not enough not to have a disease, not to have a diagnosis, and not to be on medication. And then you simply say, well, I'm healthy. Not even close. We have to look what we call wellness. Your optimal health and vitality, your best health. Just because you don't have diabetes or heart disease or cancer and you're not taking medication on a regular basis, it doesn't mean you're healthy, not even close. That's the misconception that especially young people and students have. Yeah, but I don't have anything, officially I'm not on diagnosis, so I'm quite healthy. We have to look at the dimensions of wellness. And unfortunately, a lot of the emphasis, not just here, across the world, it's all with the first one, your physical health. Obviously, when you ask people, they know so much, they've been taught this in school, in universities, throughout their life, but we tend to ignore the other areas, which became very prominent now during the pandemic. This is where we need more support actually than physical health. So with physical health, things that are obviously, before I move on, you can use the chat for this. If you look at these dimensions, ladies and gentlemen, where do you feel your strength is? Where would you say, I'm definitely doing well? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it intellectual? Is it interpersonal, which is also known as social? Is it spiritual? Is it environmental? Or is it occupational? And financial. So just jot it down on the chat that we can go through that later. I just want to see how much you already know about yourselves. And it's funny because I ask my students the same question and a lot of them pick things, but then realize they're not really doing well. I'll go through the criteria later. And then also note down, if possible, where do you feel you're struggling? Which dimension is a struggle for you? Okay, so we're going to talk about this. And again, these are the dimensions that we should start talking about and teaching when we talk about health. We can't keep focusing on physical, which obviously on the physical, you've got your exercise, you've got eating well, managing stress, sleeping, drinking water. This is all physical. But then what about the rest? What about the rest? I've got students that tell me this, doctor, I work out. I'm in perfect shape. I drink water. I, go to the gym. I sleep 8 hours a day. Then I ask him a question. How is your social life? How are you related? Do you have friends? Are you successful in your relationship? How are you intellectually? Do you read? Do you listen to new things? How are you emotionally? Are you struggling from any psychological issues, depression and anxiety? How are you spiritually? How are you environmentally? And then you start seeing that they're like, what? How is that related to my health? So we need to start talking about this. I'm sure you're all aware, since the pandemic started approximately 15, 16 months ago, the rates of depression and anxiety around the world has never been higher in history. In fact, they were talking about Japan the other day. The people that died from committing suicide is higher than the people that died from COVID-19 because of depression and anxiety. They could not handle the changes and the lockdown and all of the restrictions that happened to them. All of us are not doing emotionally 100%. You can't be human and think this is normal. All of a sudden, overnight, we're all stuck at home. We're not allowed to, a lot of us went on complete lockdowns. Wear the mask, kids are at home. We're talking to a screen. Instead of me being in India right now, giving this talk to you, I'm talking to a screen. And we've been doing that not for a day or two, 15 months. So all of us, whether we like it or not, it affected our social and emotional And I'm pretty sure for a lot of people also physical, even occupational, financial, right? So we have to start thinking about this. And I'm sure a lot of you are aware, and I think Dr. Vijay mentioned this earlier, we now appreciate the fact if you are physically doing well, you are able to fight this infection harder and better, especially if you're young, right? And that's what I was telling the students at the beginning of pandemic. Girls and boys, you're still in your 18, 19, and 20s. The more you work now on your immune system, which is pretty much by eating healthy, sleeping, controlling your stress, and exercising, the more you'll fight this. It's going to be like flu-like symptoms to you guys. We worry about people that are older, immunocompromised, but young people don't have an excuse if they're healthy to fight such infection, right? So these are the things that we need to be aware of, especially in such a difficult time. Now, if you can see my slide, we call this a continuum. So they're all interrelated. You can't say I'm doing physically great or emotionally great, but I don't care about the rest. Well, guess what? If one goes down, then the rest will go down as well. So they are interrelated, all these dimensions, trust me. I mean, you probably, as simple as financial and occupational. If you lose your job, God forbid, if you don't have enough finances to support yourself and your family, it's going to affect you emotionally, psychologically, socially, and eventually physically. So they're all related. The other point here is that you see a two-way arrow, right? That's why we go back to the title of my talk, which is taking charge of your health. It is your choice. You can go positively or negatively. You can decide to change yourself. You say, that's it. I need to live a healthier life. I need to live a better life. I need to prepare myself for challenges such as the challenges we're going through today and this infection, and grow. And you end up with high levels of wellness, meaning you'll have a vital and meaningful life. Or you can decide to ignore everything and say, I'm fine, I'm young, I don't have, a chronic condition. You start getting physical, mental, emotional symptoms, and it gets worse with time as you ignore it. You end up with low levels of wellness and what we call malaise. You're tired, you're exhausted, your body's exhausted, and that's when you end up with an official diagnosis and a disease. So it's your choice, right? A lot of the time it's our choice, but unfortunately we make the wrong choice, right? I think somebody unmuting in the background. If we have the mics mute, please, if you don't mind. I'd appreciate that. All right.
If someone want to ask any question, you can interact.
Sure. Any questions?
Audience?
I can hear some background noise.
Okay, madam. Dr. Dina, you may go ahead.
Okay. Please, if we can mute our mics, unless you have a question, I'd appreciate that. I get a lot of people asking, what are these qualities? When I asked you earlier, where do you see yourself doing well, and where are you? I think somebody's unmuted, Dr. Vijay.
Audience, please mute yourself. Manu.
Yeah, somebody's still unmuted. Yeah, they're talking as well. Can we do anything about that?
There is some Manu who is not muted themselves.
Yes.
Please, madam.
Should I go? Okay, I think it's fine now. All right, sorry about this. So yeah, I mean, when I asked you, where do you feel your strengths and weaknesses are? Some people would say, but I really don't know what these dimensions are. What do I do to improve? Well, let's start with the basic one, which I'm sure a lot of you have been taught since kindergarten. How do you physically become better? You have to eat well, exercise, avoid harmful habits such as smoking, drinking, taking drugs, practicing safer sex, recognizing symptoms of disease, getting regular checkups, and avoiding injuries as much as possible. So a lot of us are very good in this area. But then you ask people, I ask a lot of people, how are you doing emotionally? People say, yeah, I'm doing great. You know, I'm not depressed. I'm not, you know, anxious. It's got nothing to do with just being depressed or anxious. If we talk about emotional wellness, first of all, we refer to how are you as an individual? Are you optimistic? Optimism. A lot of people since the start of the pandemic have been very pessimistic. This is never going to end. Our life will never go back to normal, and this and that. And I told my students, if we look at where we are in the UAE, you know, we're probably a little different than the rest of the world and maybe in India, but where we are in the UAE, where we started and where we are now, I mean, come on, we've gone a long way in this pandemic. 70% of our population is vaccinated. We're out in malls and restaurants and hotels. The only thing is the mask and a little bit of social distancing. We're hoping to bring back our students in 2 weeks for final exam. So that's a great step forward where we were last year at this time, where we had no idea what this virus is like, what's going to happen, the anxiety and the fear, and of course, decisions that were made based on that. So optimism is important. Optimism is needed in this life to move on. Trusting one another. I've got a lot of people say, I don't trust anybody. I've got a student that told me, I don't even trust my own parents. That's going to affect his or her emotional wellness. If you're not able to trust and have somebody support you and share your problems with, you are in trouble emotionally. You can't live alone as a human being. You can't keep your feelings to yourself. And of course, here we refer to self-esteem, self-acceptance, and self-confidence as well. That's under emotional wellness. Ability to understand and accept one's feelings, ability to share feelings with others. That's all emotional. And then if we move to intellectual, a lot of people say, again, if we have students watching this in the morning, you'll say, I'm an A student. My GPA is 4 out of 4. So I'm intellectually doing well. Not even close. You could be an A student, but still the question is, are you open to new ideas? How is your capacity to question? What is the ability to think critically? How is your motivation to master a new skill? How your sense of humor, creativity, curiosity, and lifelong learning. So it's got nothing to do with your academic performance, right? And then we move on to interpersonal, which is social, something I think that is very, very essential for your well-being. Communication skills. A lot of people are comfortable using text messages or emails or the social media. They're not comfortable communicating verbally. We need to work on that. Capacity for intimacy. Ability to establish, not just establish, and maintain satisfying relationships, whether it's a significant other, friendships, your siblings, your relatives, your colleagues. How can you maintain relationships, or are you in and out of relationships constantly, losing friends, losing, a significant others, and so on. Ability to cultivate support system of friends and family. And then we move on to spirituality, and unfortunately, this one's also misunderstood. You know, obviously in the UAE, the dominant religion here is Islam. And a lot of people, when I ask, how are you doing spiritually? I'm doing great. And I say, how is that? Before I show this slide. Oh, I pray 5 times a day. I fast during Ramadan. I did Umrah. I did Hajj. I do Zakat. And I say, okay, and then what? How are you as a person? You know, are you kind? Are you a giver? You know, do you volunteer? Are you participating in charity? It's got nothing to do with a religion. We all, I'm sure, whoever is part of a religion, you're doing at least some form of practices in your religion, but it's humanity. Yeah, that's what spirituality is. Number 1, capacity for love. And again, love doesn't mean you have to get married or have a boyfriend. Loving your life, loving what you have, loving that, you know, that you're alive, that you got up in the morning and you were able to walk. Some people can't do that, can't even go to the bathroom, or didn't make it through the night. So this is when I say love life, compassion, forgiveness, altruism, joy, fulfillment. Are you satisfied? I see some people have nothing, but they're so happy. Some people have everything and they're not happy. And this goes back to the concept, does money buy happiness? No, it doesn't. It's a tool to help you live a better life. But is every rich person happy? In fact, it's probably the opposite. Caring for others. How much do you care for others? I keep telling my students, don't hate or don't get upset if a student gets an A and you get a C. Use this as an example to motivate you and be happy for them. And next time, maybe you'll get the A. Sense of meaning and purpose, sense of belonging to something greater than oneself. This is spirituality. And then, of course, you can practice your religion. Whatever it is, you can. That will add to your spirituality. But first, be a human being before you practice a religion. And then last but not least, and I think we're all behind in this, even myself, is environmental dimension, which is obviously having abundant, clean natural resources. And that really depends on where you live, the city, whether it's, a village or a city or rural and so on. Maintaining sustainable development, recycling whenever possible, reducing pollution and waste. Because at the end of the day, this will affect your wellness. Pollution, noise, living in an unhealthy environment, it is going to stress you out. So now ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, after looking at this table, you can use that on the chat. Are you well? Are you actually well or close to being well? I mean, it's not a checklist that we go through, but in general, look at how much it is to define wellness. It's not as simple as, I don't have a disease, then I'm healthy, right? So ask yourself, and you can use the chat, are you really well? How many people are actually well in this group? It's not easy task. This is one of my favorite slides where, here we're comparing the quantity of life versus the quality. A lot of us say, yeah, this person lived up to 80 and 90, so they're quite healthy. Not necessarily. It's not just a number. You ask yourself, how was that person the last few years? So if you look at this pie chart, if we look at the life expectancy of a person or a population or a country, so in general, people are dying, let's say, in that place at 78 years. Then you ask the next question is, out of the 78 years, how many are actually healthy and how many were impaired? You look at that. The orange part says 66 years are healthy life, and along almost the last 12 years was impaired, meaning he or she was on a bed, probably in the hospital, in and out, so not really living. If you ask me personally, I'd rather die at 66 and healthy than live the last 12 years an impaired life, because that's not living. Counting the years when you're in bed, you're not actually doing anything to others, people taking care of you, that's not a life, right? So, again, always think, people brag about, their age and how long they're living, but were you suffering the last 10 years? That's not living. So the idea here is quality versus quantity, right? It's nice. As public health initiatives, we do want to increase the life expectancy. Right now in the UAE, the life expectancy is 83. So people on average are dying at 83, okay, which is nice. It increased. Obviously, if you look at Japan, has the highest life expectancy in the world. Life expectancy in Japan is 92. Average into almost 10 years more than us is 92. I'm not sure about India, the life expectancy in India, but in Japan is 92. So they've got 10 years extra. We've got to learn from them. How did they do that? Obviously, there's a little bit of genetic component there, but a lot of it is lifestyle. And it becomes something they pass on, not just their genes, they pass on these habits generation after generation, okay? But also quality. So a lot of you will ask then, what do we do? How do we reach wellness? Well, guess what? It's your lifestyle management, yeah? So you have to start getting serious about your health. Really, you have to make it a priority. I mean, yesterday I was talking to a colleague. He was just promoted, big CEO in Dubai. He's like, oh, Dr. Gina, I come home at 8 p.m. every day. I start at 5 a.m. I don't see my family anymore. I don't do this. And I said, stop. Is it worth it? So he's sacrificing his social wellness. He doesn't see his friends and family anymore. Obviously, physically, forget it. No time to exercise or sleep or eat healthy. He's eating whatever is available. And I'm sure that's affecting emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. And I keep saying, is it worth it? Just the money and the title? Well, eventually you might die tomorrow. And then who's going to remember that, you were a big CEO? So, and he's still in his late 50s. So we have to really make it a priority. If you're not healthy, you're useless in this world. I think we've noticed that also with what happened in COVID. People that are not healthy were the first to be swiped out from the population. Yeah, it's almost like natural selection, survival of the fittest. Fittest here means the healthiest, right? You need to start examining your current health habits. Look at your health. Look at your lifestyle, ladies and gentlemen. And then maybe now you're starting to think while I'm talking, well, there's a lot of stuff I need to change based on that table. I need to start sleeping better. I need to start eating well. I need to start, work on my relationships. I need to start reading more. I need to start giving back to my community and caring about my environment. All right, you've got a lot to do, which is completely fine, but start choosing one target behavior at a time. What is it that's affecting you the most? What is it that the most terrible habit right now? Is it that you smoke? Is it that you've been drinking? Are you on drugs? Are you not sleeping at all? Do you have any friends? How are your relationships? Do you eat well? So look at the target behavior and choose one at a time. You can't change everything at the same time. It's not going to work. It's impossible. Now, you choose a target behavior, start learning about it. Educate yourself. You can't say overnight, that's it. Today, I'm quitting smoking. But do you know how? Do you have a plan? These things that you've been doing for years, you cannot stop overnight. Today, I'm going to start drinking 3 liters of water. Doesn't work this way. Today, I'm going to stop all the junk food, everything. I'm only going to go with a pure, healthy diet. Mainly, let's say plant-based, which is great. But what's your plan? What's your plan for this, drastic change? Today, let's say you slept 3 hours or 4 hours on average for the past 10 years, and suddenly you say, now I need to start sleep 8 hours continuous. Okay, how are you going to do that? So learn about your target behavior. And I think now the information is free and available, online. We're very blessed. You don't even have to buy resources anymore. And find help. Doesn't have to be paying someone. Talk to people with successful stories. Watch these videos of role models. Change, by the way, I'm sure a lot of you would agree with me, it is the most difficult thing for human beings. And that's why it's actually a model. Enhancing your readiness to change. There's stages for change. It's a model. We teach this model now. It's a trans-theoretical model. First of all, and I think this is, you would agree with me, the most difficult part of change. Going from pre-contemplation, which is being in denial, thinking, I don't need to change. I'm doing perfectly fine. What are they talking about? Why do I need to stop smoking? Why do I need to reduce my stress? Why do I need to lose weight? Going from denial to acknowledging that you have a problem, from what we call in scientific terms, pre-contemplation to contemplation. This is the toughest step because, again, seeing yourself from the outside. Yes, this has to stop. I cannot continue this way. Now, if you've done that, I can assure you, you can go through the rest of the steps, which is now you are serious. You realize, I want to live healthier. You realize you want to take care of yourself, not just others. You start preparing for the change, and that might take time. It can take a week or a month because you need a plan. And then you take action once you have your plan. And then I think this is also very difficult, I personally think, because I've tried a lot of things, and then this was when actually things went back to square one. Maintenance. Maintaining. A lot of us achieve so much, but then we go back to square one. So maintenance is extremely important, and then you terminate the plan and it becomes part of your lifestyle. So these are the steps for change. So it's not as simple as happening overnight. Obviously, today I only have an hour, well, less, because I'm going to leave room for questions at the end. So I literally have 15 minutes left to talk. There's so much to cover. There's so much I'm personally interested in, and I do actually webinars on these specific areas, and that's what I teach to my students. I don't want to say public health issues, the UAE, these are global health issues. I'm sure whether you're in India, in Japan, in Europe, in the States, or even here in the Middle East, we all share these issues. Things like, obviously, nutrition, unhealthy eating, physical activity, overweight and obesity, tobacco smoking, substance abuse. Obviously, right now, everybody, infectious diseases, COVID-19, mental health, injury and violence, stress, and environmental quality. For the sake of time, I'm just going to brush on things that I feel that are very, very essential and very common across the globe, which is the nutrition, mental health, and stress management. And please, if you have any questions, you can start writing them down in the chat. I'll be more than happy to address them. So let me brush a little bit on nutrition, which a lot of you probably know, and obviously that's a whole topic and a webinar on its own. It's a critical part of health and development. Obviously, better nutrition is related to improved infant, child, and maternal health. We start early. We can't just say, even as adults, no. Even as a pregnant mom, you need to take care of your health because that reflects on your baby as an infant, as a child. The healthier you eat, the stronger your immune system. And that's what I kept telling my students at the beginning of the pandemic. Please eat healthy. Please stock up on your fruits and vegetables, your vitamins, your antioxidants. That's going to help you fight this infection, right? Even if you're not vaccinated. Obviously, better nutrition results in safer pregnancy and childbirth and lower risk of non-communicable diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease, right? I know a lot of people that are pre-diabetic, they didn't even start diabetes or were officially diagnosed diabetes because of their lifestyle. They were alarmed by their doctors. I've got a lot of colleagues. Your sugar is going up, you're pre-diabetic. If you continue, you're gonna officially be diabetic. You're gonna start, things like glucophage and maybe insulin at some point. But they said, no, I don't wanna have diabetes. Since I'm already warned now and it didn't officially start, I'm gonna take charge of my life and make sure I control my blood sugar with that medication. And a lot of people did it, okay? Sometimes, of course, you can't if it's a very strong family history. But if you can push it a few more years, why not, right? Especially if you're young. And overall, nutrition leads to longevity. Good nutrition leads to living longer. I was just talking to my students last week about this, healthy eating. The other thing that we need to be very, very careful of, I'm reading a lot of articles about this, stress. Stress is becoming the #1 reason why people are dying early and developing chronic conditions. It's a constant challenge. I mean, I don't think anybody in this world, whether a male or a female, adult or a child, wherever you're living, has not been stressed or is not currently stressed. When we look at stress, there's two different things. There is the stressor, and there is the stress response. Obviously, I might ask you this also, if you can answer in the chat, which one do you have control over, the stressor or the stress response? Write it down, okay? So the stressor is the situation that trigger physical and emotional reactions. The stress response is your reaction itself to the stress. If you have an answer, then you're looking for the answer. Obviously, we control the stress response. You cannot control the stressor. You can't. Things happen in life. Who would have thought COVID will come? Who would have thought that suddenly you lose a loved one, or a war will start, or you lose a job, or you hear bad news, or you've got a sick child, or you develop a disease? Stressor is there. On a daily basis, you can just get a simple email that just ruins your whole day. Right? Emotionally, something would happen. So it's bound to happen. And there's more and more of it as we are, living in a very challenging times. But what is different between one person and another is your stress response. Do you lose sleep over something you've heard? Do you get into a cardiac arrest because you're so stressed? Or do you manage that? This is what we need to take care of, the stress response. By the way, stress has been, and this is a fact, there are health problems related directly to stress, obviously heart disease. So many people are dying and developing heart issues and, cardiac issues, cardiovascular disease because of their stress. Asthma, it develops obesity, diabetes, of course, headaches. I think you've all experienced that. When you stress also, if you're prone to mental health issues, you can easily develop depression, anxiety. That's why a lot of people are diagnosed now with depression, anxiety. I see so many of my students because it's stressful time. It's very stressful. Gastrointestinal problems, of course, I think a lot of you have experienced that, whether you're nauseous, you develop diarrhea, constipation, a lot of it is stress related. Alzheimer's disease, and obviously that will lead to premature death, okay? What are the common sources of stress in our life? Obviously major life changes, COVID-19, all of us in the world. I think it's the first time we all experience the same reason of stress, but things like moving countries, losing a loved one, getting married, moving from high school to college, moving from college to get a job, getting a promotion, applying for a job. These are all stressful things. Daily hassles, traffic, things, having a bad boss, dealing with financial issues, Obviously, for those of you that are working, my colleagues here, I think you all know, understand that job-related stressors. That's why I went to Vanna. I went to a meditation resort because I got to a point where my stress was out of control. But you know what's nice? I realized, I listened to my body. I literally sat down and said, I can't. I need a break from my life here in the UAE. And I took my mom with me, the person that, I love the most. And I said, I need to go just for a week because I felt that I couldn't control it anymore. It's affecting my personal life. I even started measuring my blood pressure, started going up. I'm becoming aggressive, irritated, so I needed to do something. And this is what you need to do. You need to listen to your body. Don't say, okay, it's gonna go away. No, it's not gonna go away on stuff. By the time it goes away, it can become sick. There are a lot of social stressors, environmental stressors, especially if you have environmental disasters, natural disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and so on. And of course, internal stress if you're sick. These are very, very, I give a whole webinar on stress and stress management, and, I'll be happy to do so if your group and your community is interested. But just to brush on some of the techniques for managing stress, the first thing you need is social support. It's very, very important to have your social support system of friends and family and colleagues, somebody who's there for you when you're feeling this way. Communication, talk about it. I see my colleagues because, as my role as a leader now, as an associate dean, a lot of people come and complain to me about other faculty. And I tell them, did you talk to them? But you're telling me the problem, but you have a problem with someone else. So instead of wasting your time, you guys need to communicate. And all the time now, I set up meetings where they need to communicate and the problem is resolved. So it's just, again, simple communication. Emails sometimes are misunderstood. Messages as well. Talk to one another as human beings. Of course, I think you all agree with me, exercise. I've never, ever in my life, I think, did that many walks and runs outside my house as this year because of the pandemic. Because of the level of stress, and obviously I couldn't go to the gym, I couldn't do what I usually do. I did so many, I've never actually walked in my community till this year because of the stress level. Of course, healthy eating, nutrition, getting sleep, by the way, is directly related to stress management. A lot of us are stressed because we're not sleeping enough. Time management, of course, we all know, especially students that are listening to me. Time management, a lot of you come to me and say, oh my God, the projects, the finals, the exams, I can't. Well, time management, don't let stress take over. But most importantly, you need to identify individual stressors. What is it that, I ask people sometimes, what's stressing you out? Life. Okay, then how can I help you? Yeah, I can't. Well, what do you want? Do you want to die so that stress can go away? So we need to identify, is it your professional, personal life? Is it a relationship? Is it a boss? Is it your child? Is it your job? We need to identify that stressor. Just to let you know, I took the initiative almost 4 years ago when I saw that a lot of our students actually need help in mental health and support, especially that I'm sure it's the same in India. It's still a stigma here in the Arab world and the Middle East. People should not, they can say they have cancer, but they can't say they're depressed. They don't want to go see the counselor. They don't want to talk about it. But then they come to me. They feel comfortable telling me about this. And I'm not a psychologist. So I decided that day, I went to my dean, I still remember, and I told him, we need a happiness course. He said, what, Dina, are you crazy? I said, no, I'm not. We need a happiness course where our public health students have to take, and the rest of the students in engineering and business and law and mass comm and environment, whatever, they can have it as an open elective. It'll be for 3 credits, it'll be graded. And guess what? It was an idea and it became a reality. In 1 semester, we got the approval from the ministry. I got a happiness coach to teach it. It is the most popular course in Abu Dhabi University. Every single student takes it. In the summer, I offer 3 sections and they fill up in a week, 40 capacity. I called it Intro to Happiness and Positive Psychology. What do we teach in this course? Strengths, optimism, appreciation and gratitude, positive communication, self-compassion, kindness and creativity, simply becoming your best self. And you don't know, you can't believe how much that course helped our students. They started getting things out. The counselor called me up and said, your students are coming to see me. I said, yeah, because we're teaching them how to open up. Because a lot of it is project-based. So I've seen how she teaches. I used to go to the class, and I still do, to observe. For example, if today they're talking about gratitude, appreciation, so the whole class, she'll be explaining the importance, but then the second half, get a paper out, Write a letter for someone that you appreciate so much, but you've never told them. And you should see the letters we're getting. You know, you'll be in tears just reading and seeing the feelings on paper. And that's what we need. A lot of it was inside. Imagine getting a sudden letter from somebody telling you how much they appreciate what you do. Doesn't that make your day? Right? So that makes my day. When I feel people are happy and they thank me, that's it for me. I've achieved my happiness. It's not the paycheck at the end of the month. It's when students tell me you made a difference in my life. You know, you taught us this and that. So this is what we have taken as an initiative, and I love this course, and it's still running actually. All right, so that brings me to the end because I do want to leave room for discussion and questions. So my take-home messages, and again, there's so much to talk about, but this is just to give you an idea about wellness and the dimensions of wellness. You need to be healthy for life, ladies and gentlemen. You need to start making changes in your world. And if you're not healthy, you cannot make any change. And guess what? We don't know what the future holds. If it's COVID this year and the year before, what is next? What's the next pandemic? What's the next war? So we need to be healthy. We need to be prepared for this challenging life that's not becoming any easier. That brings me to the end. Thank you very much for everybody this morning. And I'll be more than happy to take any questions or comments from the audience.
So session is open. Madam, one Manjari Keskar, she asked one question in chat box.
Okay, of course.
Can you throw some light on fasting? 3 autophagy phase process. In India, it's very famous and practiced widely.
Okay,
Chat
yes.
box.
I can see the chat box. Where is the question?
Manjari Keskar. Last one.
Good morning. Can you throw some light on fasting, the autophagy process? In India, it's very famous practice-wise. Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for your comments. You know, we've just finished, for those of you that are Muslim, we've just finished Ramadan, where we fast 30 days. In fact, I've moved on after we finished Ramadan, after Eid, of course. I'm doing intermittent fasting now, which is the 16-hour fasting. And I've never been more focused and productive as I was in Ramadan, especially this year. A lot of people say, yeah, but you don't get the energy, you're tired. Well, guess what? No, your body is cleansing. I stopped the coffee. I stopped the junk food. I'm eating 1 healthy meal per day. And it made me feel so good that I decided after Ramadan to continue what we call intermittent fasting. So what I do now, I fast, my last meal is usually at 6 p.m., you know, a good meal, 6 to 7. And then till the next day, till noon or 1 p.m., I only drink black coffee and water. I take nothing. And guess what? Your concentration, your energy level is much higher because it's not being wasted on metabolizing the food. It's more focused on doing the task. And I'm going to continue that. So I would highly recommend intermittent fasting. For those of you that practice Ramadan fasting, I'm sure you agree with me. It's not easy, obviously. You get tired, you get dehydrated, especially when you don't have water and we live such a warm climate. But it does actually improve your mental awareness, your concentration, and your energy level with fasting. Okay?
Satish Kumar Sinha, please. Satish Kumar Sinha, please.
So we'd have how mathematically to calculate the wellness. You can't, Satish. There's no formula for wellness. It's an overall lifestyle. You can't, as I said, it's not a checklist. Yeah, obviously you can do the BMI measurement to see your weight, your water weight, your fat, your muscle, but wellness cannot be measured. Wellness is your overall well-being. Just look at the different dimensions and see, are you at least working towards them or are you very behind? But you cannot literally get a formula and say, this plus this will make me well. No, it's a lifestyle that you have to manage. Okay? Anything else?
Limbaji Salve from Facebook asked how to boost immunity in children.
Very good. Very good. Very good question. I'm a mother, by the way. I have 2 boys. I've got a teenager and a younger boy. So that's something I work on as well. Definitely, whoever asked that question, look into their nutrition. We want to make sure they're getting their vitamins. Yeah, their antioxidants. We need a diet filled with fibers, filled with the healthy, I keep telling them the colorful fruits. We also need to look at their plate. I teach my plate in my class. How much healthy carbs versus plant fats versus proteins versus water. So definitely their diet, stay away from all that, the fats, especially the saturated fats, the carbs, the unhealthy carbs, all these processed food that our kids eat and the junk food. Lots and lots of water. Get your kids used to drinking water. Sleep. That's why my husband keeps telling me, why do you keep throwing fits about the sleep? They still have to get their 9 to 10 hours of sleep. No matter what happens, my boys, even during the holidays, 9 p.m. they're in bed because they need to. They're growing up. Also exercise. I know it's hard with COVID, but I still do that. We go out for walks, even the bicycle, even in the playground. Yeah. So we need to, and of course, talk to them in general about the importance of this stuff. But we have to start early with them. Okay. Other questions?
I request Dr. Tarun, you can please initiate further discussion. Dr. Tarun? So from audience? Yes, Satish sir, please.
Yes. I cannot hear him. He's muted.
Satish sir, please unmute. Yeah, please unmute yourself.
Still muted.
Still it is muted. Satish sir, you can write. You can write in chat. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Are you listening, ma'am?
Yes,
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. You mentioned the 6 parameter for the example of quality behaviors associated with the dimension of the wellness, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I would like to know that these 6 parameters, whether mathematically or any kind of quantify for the countries, for population at the present situation in the COVID.
So you're the one that asked about quantifying these, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as I said, we cannot quantify it. We cannot have a specific formula for each one of these dimensions. We have to look at the overall achievements. For example, if you're looking at the emotional, we have to look at the individual and say, how are they doing with their relationships and communication? Are they able to communicate? Do they, I've got 2 boys, for example. One is you put him anywhere, he's very sociable. He, he develops relationship easy. The other one I see, no, he's the one that needs more support. I need to put him more into groups where he socializes, to be around groups and so on. So it's a matter of just improving what is already there. We cannot quantify. I cannot say, okay, this guy has 5 friends, so he's doing well. This guy has 2 friends, so he's not. No, it doesn't work this way. Are they able to communicate? Are they able to develop relationships, and can they maintain them? Do they trust one another? So it's more of a holistic approach, Mr. Satish, than quantifying these things.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah,
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Somebody mentioned what is the ideal time for sleeping.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Because when we talk about sleep, it's not just quantity, it's not the hours, it's also when. So based on research, obviously, you want to sleep. A lot of people here, where I see this, they're up all night and sleeping through the day. A lot of people did this in Ramadan as well. You want to sleep when it's dark outside. So typically, the way I do it and my family, by 10:30, 11 p.m., we're all actually sleeping. By 6 a.m., we're up. And that's the best time. Between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., that's the best quality sleep that you may get. Yeah, for the melatonin level will be the highest, and you are in deep quality. Because sometimes if you sleep in the morning, you still wake up and you're tired because you're not getting that quality sleep. So it has to be dark, it has to be at night, your biological clock. You need to follow that. And from 10 p.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. is the best time to sleep.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to know that what about the metabolism? Is there anything the importance of metabolism, because the in India we are having the fasting and all those that very much concerned about to do the fast time
Hmm.
to time. So is there any effect in metabolism that can harm our health, and we have to maintain it to get good?
So when you do your fasting, how are you doing it?
Actually, I am not doing, but I have seen the people. I stopped doing because I come to know that metabolism maintenance and is important equally. So fasting is not actually advisable. That is what I heard about. So I
Hmm.
stopped, but I have seen the people that
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
I have seen the people. They are doing fasting very rigorously. I can say that very hard fast. So in that case, how can they manage their health? At the same time, they are also very rigid in for their gods and all. Like we can say that.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you've heard about the keto diet, and our body, obviously, during fasting, kind of goes into what we call ketosis. So, what happens typically, because you're fasting, you're not getting your carbs, which is the first source of energy, primary source of energy for us. So, you're not eating for such a long time, especially if you're fasting, let's say in Ramadan, where obviously from dawn, let's say from 4 a.m. till 7 p.m. You're not allowed to eat anything. Now your body has to survive. You're not just in bed. You're getting up. You need, obviously, your metabolism has to run, and you need a source of energy to do the work. So what's going to happen here? That's why it's healthy, because it's going to start the ketosis process, breaking down the fat in your body to get that energy, which is something we don't do if we keep eating. You're not giving your body a chance to go into ketosis and break down the fat, because we're supplying so much carbs in our diet. But when you're fasting, your body goes into ketosis and uses ketone bodies as a form of energy. And they say every now and then, this is very healthy, that your body moves from consuming glucose to consuming, fat in the form of ketone bodies to get that energy. So your metabolism is still running, but it's a different source of fuel, right? And of course, with Ramadan, it's a little harsh, as I said, from 4 a.m. till 7. I told you, I suffered as well. It's not easy. But the intermittent fasting, at least 12 to 16 hours a day, is actually quite healthy for you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right?
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
most welcome. You're most welcome. My pleasure. Any other comments or questions? We do have one, actually. Paramount, this is Paramount or Miss Paramount, is depression or schizophrenia also have any relationship with sleep? Okay, that's a good question, actually. Now, lack of sleep will not cause depression or schizophrenia or a mental health issue. But if you are diagnosed with depression or schizophrenia and you're not sleeping, it's only going to make the symptoms worse. That's why a lot of people that are depressed or schizophrenic or any mental health issue, anxious, obviously they're constantly thinking and they're constantly worried and they're not themselves, so they don't sleep well. So a lot of them, when they go to see a psychiatrist or a counselor or a psychologist, they do actually put them on sleeping pills and melatonin to help them sleep. Because otherwise, obviously they're depressed and they're not sleeping, it's just gonna get worse. But if you don't, sleep deprivation is not a cause of depression, but depression is a cause of being sleep deprived. You lose interest in life when you're depressed, right? So you don't eat well, you don't sleep, all the necessities to have a good life. But we need to make sure they sleep. That's why I know a lot of people that are on antidepressants, but also sleeping pills, because they need to sleep. Their mind is constantly working and worried and negative thoughts. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay. We've got a minute to go. So any more comments or feedback? Dr. Vijay, you're muted.
I request Dr. Tarun Upadhyay to please share his view.
Sure.
Okay, so on the behalf of Center of Research for Development and Parul Institute of Applied Sciences, my sincere thanks to Dr. Dina because she have accepted the invitation in a very short time, and I also welcome all the participants and thanks a lot for participating in the event. And still, if anybody have any query, they can ask with. So to make the session very much interactive. Now, if anybody still have any question, they can discuss with her.
And also, I'm gonna share my email on the chat right now. If anybody wants to follow up with me later or have any questions or anything, feel free to contact me. My email is on the chat, dina.elsuri@adu.ac.ae. I'm also very active on LinkedIn for those of you that follow me. So you can go ahead and also connect with me through LinkedIn. And you're more than welcome to visit us in hot, humid UAE. Don't come now. Wait till December. But, you know, we're happy to have you. I can't wait to go back and visit India anytime in the near future, inshallah. Just take care of your COVID, guys, so I can come. But inshallah, hopefully I'll get to meet a lot of you, hopefully in person. I mean, I've only seen Lucknow and I've been to Goa and Dehradun. I haven't seen the rest of India, so I'd love to come one day and explore the country.
Thank you, Dr. Dina. Please take care and thanks for accepting invitation. And we
My
look forward.
pleasure.
We
My
look
pleasure.
forward. We look forward many more sessions in future also on Ayurveda and other fields.
Inshallah.
Definitely,
inshallah.
we will be in touch. Okay, so stay safe.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation. Have a lovely day, everybody.
Thank
and
you.
take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So now the meeting is officially closed. I will share the feedback link to all the participants. Please fill up it and revert back in very soon time. So after that, the certificate will issue to the participant.
Anybody is having any doubts, please share. The Google Meet has having the link of hardly 100 participants. So Facebook Live is there. We again request 2:30 is another second session by Dr. A.B. Sarangi, and it is on the spices having the medical importance. So we request all who are here, please join at the same session also. So all the best. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.